So, welcome to another episode of Blessings Astrology. Remember, the key here is to find the gifts behind everything. I mean, this is part of kind of like shadow work, right? You want to find the gifts in everything that you do, everything that you see, believe, say, feel, think, everything. That includes this stuff, like in astrology. This is what, it's astrology is a guide. So, I hope you enjoy the next video, and this will be on. So that was that's Mars. When you get moving, when you have a sort of need to do something or act, that's Mars. Mars is, well, it's acting, it's moving, it's acting, and it's not just that, but like aggression, assertiveness, of course, initiative, because it is, it does rule Aries. So, and Mars is also accidents. They're like our body, basically our movement sort of thing, if you can sort of feel it. It's also sexuality, of course. It's what you're attracted to. Venus is the opposite. It's what attracts you. It's not what you're drawn to. So Mars is like whoosh, it's this way, whereas Venus is more like this way. So through Aries, of course, it's right at home. It's very, what do you call this? Yeah, it just a lot of initiative. People with Mars in Aries are very assertive, very get-go kind of people, depending on the placements, of course, depending on where it is, what house it's in, where in life it's in, and what aspects it has, and if it's like in aspect to the any of the angular houses, the first, fourth, seventh, and 10th houses. And it's very straightforward when it's in Aries. It's just like boom, boom, boom. It's also very curious. In terms, there's a certain curiosity to it. There's a certain need for a little bit of creativity because it's just doing, right? Doing for the sake of doing, kind of thing. That's Mars. But there's also a certain like Mars in Aries people do get mad quickly, but it also dies quickly as well because it's Aries. Aries energy is just like a burst of energy of fire, and it's just boom, and then it dies off after a while. So they don't really, well, they do things. That's more like the sun. If the sun was in Aries, they don't really. It's vitality. That's the vitality, right? Because it's a burst of energy. But with Mars is just like that. It is still like a burst of energy. Mars rules uh, movement, cars, driving, not exactly traveling, but like just action, like action. People, I guess people who are very strong Mars position, especially with the sun there, Mars conjunct sun in Aries, they probably like driving, like daredevil kind of people. And so when it comes to the other signs, though, it's a little different. Now we go into when it comes to Mars in Taurus, slow moving, very practical, very kind of, it's a little more Venusian. It's a little more, I have to kind of like weigh this in. Does it feel good, sort of thing? And a lot of it is, it's based on, it's still body, it's still physical because it's very sensual. Taurus is sensual. So, there's this tendency to do things kind of at a pace. Like, like think of the Taurus, the ox or a bull. It's just like, right? So it's a lot about that kind of stuff. It's a lot of movement. So, and then, um, slow to anger. this is the one that this is the sign that's really like slow to anger. Besides Capricorn, Capricorn is because if Mars were in Capricorn, which will be done later, it's a little different. It's like still earthy, but it's not as, I would say, it's a little more concerned with the ego, right? But with Taurus, it's more, uh, I'll take my time, kind of thing. And once it gets going, though, it gets going. It doesn't pretty much doesn't. Taurus is the most stubborn sign in the zodiac, so you can see. Then so Mars in Gemini is very flirtatious. Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention that. So what you're drawn to with Taurus is you're drawn to things that are more sensual, of course, sensual things, possessions, things that probably people who are more stable and have a lot of probably like security about them. They tend to be more drawn to people who are just just feel sure they have a good self-worth as well. Um, yeah. What else is there? Oh yeah, so we'll skip on to Gemini. Um, Mars in Gemini is like flirtatious. It likes to just go around. It's kind of indecisive too, very very indecisive because it's very light. It's the opposite of, I would say, complete opposite of Taurus. It's just like everywhere, and very much attracted to things that are not only flirtatiousness but like curiosity. There's always a sense of curiosity. There's always a sense of like, let's play a game, but through knowledge. It's like, I want to get this, I want to get this. It's multitasking as well. They believe they're multitaskers. Technically, there's no such thing as, you cannot really multitask unless you have 8 legs or 8 hands, you know. Um, Typically, yeah, but maybe it's possible. I'm not really sure. It's not 100%. But anyways, it's a very multitasky sort of thing. Similar to Virgo, actually. Slightly different, though. Mars in Cancer are more emotion based, of course. They like to wait until it feels good to act. It feels good to feel safe when it's actually secure, when it's actually, especially when it comes to bonding. Someone who feels like family, or someone you're attracted to, someone feels kind of very certain, but also gentle about themselves. But there's certain a sort of a Cancer has a certain competitiveness to Cancer as well. It's not completely like, I'm just gonna sit here, because that's all about being defensive, right? So Mars, when it comes to being when it comes to anger. By the way, going back to Gemini, Mars Gemini sort of like puts into question things rather than get angry. With Cancer, it will get angry in a way that's like more like, it's defensiveness. It's more inwards anger. It's like, I'm not going to talk to you. This is my defense. This is my anger, kind of thing. Okay. So, and then Mars in. So, oh yeah. So, because this is, of course, a blessings, right? You want to look for things that you're grateful for. Mars, even though it has an aggressive energy, even though it's sort of, it gets you acting. It gets you to do things that are more, things that probably you don't want to do. It gives you courage as well. It can give you the the direction you need to, because you don't know what's ahead of you. Especially if you have, like, let's say Mars in retrograde, you're very unsure, right? So you keep repeating things and you're not sure. You keep doing things and you're not really sure. Is that perfect? Is that, especially maybe Mars in the Earth signs, specifically like Virgo, you might, and it's retrograde. Oh yeah, it's like, I don't know. I don't know. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. I think maybe Mars, people with retrograde Mars in Virgo, in particular, just that one, depending on the aspects and the houses and whatever, um, is like, I think there's a tie to OCD. I'm not sure, but probably. But it's probably also Mercury as well. Mercury that. But anyway, so yeah, so a lot of things that you might want to think about when it comes to, you don't want to get angry, it kind of takes over. um, Sometimes Mars isn't just action, it's also inaction or something in between. You take things, you take your time, whatever it is, you find the gifts behind those things, and you say, instead of asking why this, well, sure, why can, you look at this, I wonder what if I could do this. I wonder. I learned that through many things, especially recently with Mel Robbins. Mel Robbins, yeah, the one who had the book about 5 second rule, making decisions. That's very Mars. That's very Martian, sort of. Also Mercury, sort of thing. So Mars in Leo, this is the one where pride gets in for sure, where they don't act unless it ties into their own vitality. It gives them vitality. It gives them a sense of like like they can dance. People who have Mars in Leo enjoy dancing. They love music, any sort of movement that gets them to be more artistic, be more childlike as well, be more like in the moment. Similar to Aries, in the moment. Aries is very in the moment, very present actually. Um, However, with Leo, it's more about the vitality. It's about that creative principle, right? It ties into, of course, if you have your sun in Leo, it ties into that you're kind of very assertive, but in a towards artistic things like music, dance, probably even painting. That's more of a Libra Taurus thing. But yeah, sure, anything sort of getting them moving, dancing for sure. That's one of those things. The what do you call them? Not fine arts, the performing arts. So, and then we go into Mars in Virgo, who of course we talked about a little bit earlier on. The perfectionist, but very curious about things, but loves to get things done first before moving on. So that's where the difference is between Virgo and Gemini. Action is, it has a certain assertiveness to it, but curiosity, but also weighs things in. It sort of looks for methods, like you see. Um, Going back to the attraction thing, Mars in Leo and drawn to people who are, yes, similar to what they want as well. Usually you're drawn to things that are, or people that are specifically, like all this Mars stuff is also very sexual energy. So when I say attracted to, it literally means like more like in a sexual sense. So people who with Mars in Leo are attracted to bravado, confidence, people who are leaders. I would say Mars in Aries might be attracted to that too. A sort of like confidence, sort of get go getters. Except with Leo, it's more about confidence in oneself, not so much leading others, more like leading oneself, being more um, independent, or just kind of very, but at the same time, sort of artistic. People who are also weird and quirky, that's possible too. Okay. Mars in Virgo, they're attracted to people who are very, very technical. I've met people like that who just like, actually, my mom is Mars and Leo, so she's very much like drawn into very artistic things that are just, she doesn't really like exercise, but she likes moving when it's dancing. She likes things that are more like music really, but she's also like Sun Libra. So um so yeah, so very technical when it comes to, or methodical and routine sort of based people who love to work. People Mars in Virgo, I was talking about Leo earlier, but now I'm talking about Mars and Virgo again. They're attracted to, Mars and Virgo are attracted to people who